when you're in your environment, when you're on your social networking page, that's really where you want to be, and you don't really want to get up and move away from it. So capturing people where they are, where they're spending a lot of time, is really the new environment for advertising. And it's an area where people are more open and more receptive to receiving information because they're already receiving it from their friends. Might as well be receiving it from you, the advertiser, as well. So let's take a next step here and talk about just who are the social networks that are out there. How do you categorize them? How do you understand? There's probably 80 or 90 different social networks out there. I'm just going to go through a few of them real briefly with you to give you kind of a high level of it. You can ask questions on the board, or you can kind of go back and research it yourself to get a little bit more in-depth on what the different social networks are out there. But let's just go with the top line here. I'm going to call these Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and you can break them out however you like. But there really are two distinct leaders in the social networking space. That's going to be MySpace and it's going to be Facebook. These guys are really the gorillas out there that take over 90% of the communities. It's where a lot of the people are interacting, and a lot of the people are engaging, and a lot of the different innovations are happening on these specific sites. MySpace has just launched their brand new record album. So basically, they're having specific MySpace bands that were created on MySpace. Garage bands used to be garage bands, now they're MySpace bands, and they're doing recording. Their own recording label, and so they're creating these environments within that to draw people in and have really cool next generation innovations within them. So MySpace really tends to cater to generally a younger audience. You're looking at high school, young college age people. Very, very hip community, very music centric, graphic centric, very, very up to speed on digital communication. Texting, all that kind of stuff is really, really popular within MySpace. And you can just see, if you go around to some of the pages, who's on MySpace, what they're looking at, what their environments look like. There's so many different websites that provide graphics into MySpace, and they're glittery, and they're glammy, and they're sparkly, and they're any kind of thing that you want. It's really about self-expression on MySpace. And so that's just a real quick snapshot of MySpace. Facebook developed out of a kind of a localized college solution into a global solution. But it used to be specifically for college students to connect up with other people at their colleges, and then it just kind of exploded and grew from there. So naturally, it tends to be a slightly older audience on Facebook, and it's getting a little older as people who have graduated are now getting older. But it's a place for people to build maybe not so much professional community, but more of a friend community that extends beyond your schooling, beyond just the things you're doing in the immediacy of it. There's not the kind of graphical layout designs as much so as with MySpace, but you can still do a lot within the environment there. Facebook has recently reached almost double, I think, what MySpace is on a global level. MySpace is really very, very strong in the U.S. Facebook is very, very strong internationally, as well as in the U.S. So MySpace is definitely trying to grow and develop their international business as well as their U.S. business. So those are the two top ones. We come down to a second tier, and I want to call these kind of regionally focused social networking sites. Sites here like Friendster, like Hi5. Friendster is one of the predominant social networking sites in Asia. China, Japan, Singapore, Thailand. Very, very strong user base in those kind of areas for Friendster. They do have a good foothold in the United States, but their presence really in the Southeast areas is very, very strong. And they have some virtual currencies that really lend itself to that kind of culture to help draw people in and keep people really engaged in that culture. It's a little different than you would see on a Facebook or a MySpace. They just have a different feel to it. Hi5 is a fantastic site, and they have a really strong reach into the Latin America market. Spain, southern parts of Europe, as well as Central America, South America. They're the predominant leader in those areas. So if you're looking for reach into that area, these are kind of regional positioning partners that you may want to be taking a look at. The third area is kind of a local or a niche kind of a social networking group. These have some really specific components to them of why they're here. They have a really strong function. So just a couple that I put on the board here. LinkedIn is a social networking group for professionals. So you can connect up with other people that you've worked with or that you've gone to school with. There's not a whole lot of customization there, but it's really about networking and talking to the people that you've worked with, connecting up with people you want to work with, and that whole interaction there. Cafe Moms, obviously, by the name, it's a perfect place for moms to gather and talk about things that moms love to talk about. Child rearing, education, the latest Dancing with the Stars results, those kind of things. But again, it's a niche market. It's just for moms. It's very targeted. It's not going to have the explosive growth that a Facebook is going to have. But again, it's a comfortable place for moms to go and interact with other moms in a secure environment. So again, it may be perfect if you have a product or solution that you really want to reach out to that specific demographic and catch them where they are. Another one would be like NetVibes. NetVibes is a little different in that it's a start page where you can create a customized start page and share that and interact within that start page with your friends and with your different widgets and things that you put on there. So that's kind of a really brief breakdown. Again, there's a lot more to go into there, and you can research more and find out more, but this kind of gives you an idea of who's in the marketplace, what are they doing, and how are they positioned. What's the difference between a MySpace and a Facebook, or a MySpace and a High5, and how do I know the difference between those two or those three or whatever. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into that, into who they are and what they do. I want to transition real quickly from kind of who's out there to a couple example campaigns that have run, just to give you a feeling for what you may see, what you may want to see in advertising in these categories. There's a couple different ways you can advertise within the social networking sites, but here's a couple examples. So this was a movie that I put up here. They were really interested in expanding their widget. Now let me back up. I forgot to mention this before. So a widget, if you're not really familiar with it, a widget is just a very small application that resides on your social networking page. Within your social networking page, there's all different kinds of things that are going on, and there's specific areas that are carved out where you can post widgets or applications. These are very small pieces of code, for a technical term, but they're like very small websites that are located within your social networking page. They have different content that's in them, and they can have renewable content that's in them. So instead of thinking of a widget back, when you were going to school and they said this factory makes 800 widgets and this factory makes 1,000 widgets an hour, how many do they make altogether? Not that kind of widget. Different altogether. Just imagine it's a very, very small website within your social networking page that gives you specific content that you're interested in. So this movie company put out a movie, and they wanted to get this widget shared. And as I talked about before, that's one of the key components of what ClearSpring does, is it allows you to share this kind of content, whether it be video or whatever. So they wanted to get their video, it was a trailer for the movie, shared as many times as possible. That was the real goal of the campaign. And you guys may relate to that if you're in the movie industry or the TV industry. You may have trailers for TVs or trailers for movies that you want to get out there, you want to get distribution for. This is how they went about doing it. So they wanted it to increase awareness, but they also wanted to get their widget and the trailer viewed as many times as possible. So what they did is they came and they were interested in a widget distribution campaign. They had the widget already built, and they had it on their website, but they just weren't getting a whole lot of momentum, a whole lot of push from it. So we were able to help them leverage that and really kind of seed it into the marketplace for them, jumpstart this whole process. So the hook in getting people to do this was, as you can see on the board, the person who had the most shares from their page got a special preview of this in their hometown for 100 of their friends. So they got to have all their friends come to a movie theater in their hometown, and they got a special sneak preview of this movie. So what a great way to reach out to their target audience, capture those people, and get them to watch it and share it with all their friends in a kind of fun contest sort of way, while getting their name brand recognition and the brand of the movie recognized out there as well. So the results were pretty astounding for this one. It was a great movie, but the success of this really took off beyond what the movie was capable of doing. So we had a 5 times lift over the initial install base. So, for example, we had 100,000 installs we did for this campaign. We got about 500,000 installs. It just took off.